All right, and the last movement of our course that we're going to look at and talk about is op art. And, op art is an odd one out because if you think about the previous art movements that we've talked about, I mean, they all kind of came either from a place of, exploring an expression or an emotion, or, like pop art, like we just commented on, it came from a stance at like, it had a higher message. Like it was poking fun at, it was trying to, use everyday common materials. The futurists were concerned with, technology and speed and motion, and the cubists were interested in looking at things at different angles. And, so a lot of these movements kind of had a conceptual structure behind them that guided them. And the thing that I like about op art is op art seems to be one of the only few movements that's really just kind of concerned with the visual of the image. And more specifically, they were interested in things like optical illusions and perceptions. And there's a lot of science that actually goes behind how the eye perceives a lot of these figure ground disruptions. So I mean, definitely there's a formalistic, like a formalism element to op art. I mean, because it is concerned with just what you see, what's in front of you. But it's not necessarily trying to promote an aesthetic response, as the formalists would say. The op artists were trying to evoke perceptual illusions, ambiguities, right, contradictions, things that would kind of make you look twice at what's actually happening here. These visual vibrations that are happening. That's what they were more concerned with, right? So oftentimes they're black and white, because to achieve some of these illusions, black and white seems to be one of the two color pairings that seems to really push these dynamic visual vibrations. But it can happen through other color systems, right? There's a phenomenon known as chromosteropsis, where you actually have two colors that create this vibrating, dynamic pulsing between the two, right? This chromatic tension, right? So op art is usually achieved through just really precise manipulations of line and shape and color to really give us, right? I mean, if a lot of these images, if you look at them but don't quite look directly at them, you can definitely see this undulating, this pulsating, right? And op art can be, I mean, you could call it, it's fundamentally just concerned with abstract, formal relationships of space, right? So I'm just showing you some artists here that you can think about when looking at op art. What they were trying to do. Why spend your time pushing a painting for its purely illusionistic properties? And oftentimes that's solely what it was, right? But there's Joseph Albers, who I'm not necessarily sure I would call him an op art. I mean, he was working with color field harmonies, and I would say there's geometric abstraction. So like I said, not every artist fits just so nicely and neatly into any one of these movements, but he did a lot of important work regarding color, right? And exploring how certain colors advance and certain colors retreat, right? Figuring like warm colors come towards you, cool colors get pushed back, getting colors that can, hover or come to the foreground, right? So, I mean, a lot of his square images, definitely have illusionistic properties, right? And I posted, in the images below, you'll see a lot of kind of interesting effects through the various artists and the different techniques they would employ. So this one's pretty straightforward. Not much to really expand on. There is some science and optical fundamentals that go in here, but op art is art that uses optical illusions, right? And like I said, often black and white, right, to suggest movement, hidden images, vibrating flashes, swelling, warping, etc. Right? And the way that this is done is it's done by disrupting the figure ground, right? Getting you to be confused as to what is the positive space, what is the negative space, and getting that to, flip back and forth in the same image, right? That's really what their aim was, is to confuse your eye as to what is positive and what is negative. And then the other way that op artists achieve this is also through color, right? Color relationships can also produce positive, negative relationships, right? By, warm colors coming towards you, cool colors moving back. Okay, so pretty straightforward here.